Don't be trippin', it's just flippin'. I'm a full-time reseller, and you may know me as Don't Be Trippin', but my name is actually Natalie, and welcome to class, you guys. This is Reselling 101. I'm going to share all my tips and tricks when it comes to reselling so you can be a successful reseller yourself. If that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and follow along. Let's get started. We're going to start from the very beginning and with one of my most asked questions, and that is, do I have an LLC, which is a limited liability company? And yes, we do. We have a registered business through the state, and I highly recommend it, but I'm no tax professional, you guys, so I'm just sharing what I do and how I have been successful. So take that as it is. Here are just a few benefits of having an LLC. It's not required by eBay or any other selling platform to have an LLC. Having an LLC is great insurance, especially if you plan on doing this full time. Step number 2 is decide what platforms you want to sell on. Is that eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, Curtsy, Etsy? There's so many out there, you guys. You just kind of pick and choose which ones you want to start with. I highly suggest starting with one before moving to others. Make sure you fully understand the first platform you're selling on before you move to another. I highly recommend starting with eBay. It is probably one of the most intimidating, especially for a lot of you new resellers, but I promise you, once you get started, you won't regret it. eBay is our most consistent and most lucrative platform, so that's why I suggest starting with eBay first. Some do find it challenging to get eBay started, but that's what I'm here for. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. The first thing you got to do is make an account. So that's step 1. Go to eBay and sign up for a seller's account. Once you get signed up, you're going to want to set up your business policies. Here's the 3 you're going to want to focus on: shipping, payments, and returns. Shipping is a big one for people and probably the most complicated. We use eBay's calculated shipping. We enter the weight and measurements on our listing, but we do usually overmeasure and overweigh by a couple inches and a couple pounds. This is going to account for any shipping materials that you plan on using. When it comes to eBay's calculated shipping, the price of shipping is based on the distance between us and the buyer, so as long as you have the correct weight and measurements, you're going to be a-okay. Create a shipping policy using calculated shipping on eBay. First off, you're going to get on a computer, you're going to go into eBay, you're going to click My eBay and go to Selling. This is going to bring you into your seller hub. Click Listings, scroll down, and on the left hand side you're going to see where it says Business Policies. Go ahead and click that. This is going to show you where all of your business policies are that you have set up. If you want to create a policy because you don't have one set up yet, here's a few options that you could choose from. You can set up payment, return, or shipping policies. We're creating a shipping policy, so go ahead and click that. You can give your policy a name. You can name it whatever you want. You can also add a policy description just to help you identify it if you make multiple policies. Make sure you always set it as a default shipping policy. This is the one when you're in your eBay listing that's going to pop up. Right here's where you're going to choose what type of shipping you're going to do. We do calculated shipping, so the cost varies by buyer location. We put in the weight and measurements, and eBay calculates the price of shipping based on how far the item has to travel. Like I said, we use UPS and USPS priority, so we just click those 2 services, and that's what's going to pop up under the shipping services that you want to use. Right here, you could also offer calculated shipping discounts. I do not, so we're just going to skip that. And then handling time, you're just going to select your handling time. Our handling time is 1 business day unless it's the weekend. Here's a look at what our shipping policy looks like. Right here, you can see that our policy name is Shipping Rates 2022. It's set as a default shipping policy. We use eBay's calculated shipping, so the cost varies by buyer location, and we ship through UPS Ground and USPS Priority, sometimes UPS Ground Advantage. We do not offer any calculated shipping discounts, and our handling time is 1 day. Right here, you could also add a handling cost. We do not do that, but if you wanted to, there it is for you. Now, I don't do fixed rate shipping, but that is an option too. You can kind of search YouTube to kind of look over that. I don't have any experience with that form of shipping, so I can't be any help in that area. Next is your payments. When it comes to payments and you are wanting this to be a business, you need to set up a business account. Again, I'm not a tax professional, but I highly recommend setting up a business account to keep things separate from your personal account. This is going to come in handy when you make sales, have returns, etc. It's going to keep all that on that business account, so you don't have to worry about it coming out of your personal account. The last policy that I recommend you set up is your return policy. You want to make sure you have this set up before you sell your first item. Returns, unfortunately, are a part of reselling and any other retail business. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We do accept returns. There are a few stipulations. Our return policy does say that if you do want to return an item and it's due to fit or no fault of ours, the buyer is responsible for return shipping, so make sure you include that in your policy if you do plan to accept returns. Now, sometimes eBay will force a return. A buyer can say that your item isn't as described, blah, blah, blah. You can always appeal this with eBay, you guys. So don't get scared of returns. It's just a part of business. How to create a return policy on eBay. Here's exactly how you're going to do it. Go into your seller hub, click orders, and you're going to scroll down to where it gives you the settings and click return preferences. Now, you can set up a return preference where it's automated, but I choose not to do that because I don't want to automate returns. I want to look at each of them as they come in and not automatically accept a return. You're going to click business policies, and this is going to take you to the page where you can set up your business policies. That includes payments, returns, and shipping. So over here to the right, you're going to go ahead and click return policy, and this is how you're going to create your return policy. You're going to go ahead and give your policy a name. I keep it simple and just write return policy. In the description, that's where you're going to put any details that you want the buyer to know. Here's what mine says. I do accept returns, but the buyer is responsible for all shipping. That does include original and return shipping. Even if you don't allow returns, sometimes eBay will overrule your policy due to their eBay's money back guarantee. When it comes to international returns, I do have it toggled off because I am a part of eBay's international shipping program. And one of the biggest perks is that any returns that come through international shipping, they will be processed on our behalf, so eBay will take care of it. eBay will refund the buyer and we get to keep the sale. Another good thing is if you receive negative or neutral feedback, eBay will remove it. Let me know in the comments if you accept returns or not and exactly why. eBay is a great platform to start with. We list every single item we pick up on eBay. It doesn't matter what it is. eBay is great when it comes to variety. A lot of things sell on eBay: vintage clothing, shoes, toys, jewelry. It doesn't matter, you guys. Go ahead and look on eBay and you can just see some of the items that sell on there. We sell a wide variety of items on eBay. It's not just one niche, and that's how we like it. We love the random sells. Alrighty guys, that's it for the first episode on Reselling 101. Join me next time because we're going to go over exactly what supplies you need to be successful when it comes to reselling. Welcome back guys, it's Don't Be Trippin', it's just flippin', and here's Reselling 101 Part 2. I'm going to answer a couple of the questions that you guys had from the last video, and then we'll move on to what we're going to go over this video, which is must-haves when it comes to reselling. I mentioned in my last video, you guys, that we do have an LLC. You do not need to have an LLC to start reselling on eBay or any other platform for that matter. We had an LLC whenever we sold on Amazon FBA, so it's just easy to carry that over. It's definitely not required, but if you plan to make reselling a full-time gig, it is a smart move in the beginning opposed to doing it later on in your reselling journey. Another one of the questions that I got was whether or not you should open a store when it comes to eBay. When we first started selling on eBay, we did not have a store subscription, and we didn't get one until we started going over the free listings that eBay gives you every month. I believe it's 250 free listings, and then after that you pay an insertion fee of 35 cents per listing. In the beginning, we were listing all of our items that we previously had on Amazon, and so we were going over that quota pretty quickly. It made sense for us to get a store subscription. If you're going over the free listings and paying the insertion fees, it just makes sense financially to start a store subscription. There's several different options. There's a starter store, the basic store, premium, and it goes up from there. We have the premium store just because we have so many items. We have over 4,000 active listings on our eBay store, so the premium store is what makes sense for us. When we first started, we just had the basic store. Some of those incentives are lower value fees. You get a coupon that you can use every quarter. You're able to eventually promote your store, which is what we do to every single item. You can also run sales on eBay whenever you have a store subscription, so that gets some of your items moving. Whenever you can run a 15 or 20% off sale, that gets some of your items moving. So keep that in mind whenever you're factoring the cost for a store subscription. You're going to end up moving more inventory with one opposed to not having one. I hope that makes sense. If you're planning on starting out, just go ahead and list your items, and once you start going over the free listings that eBay gives you per month, then go ahead and open a store. I would start with the basic store opposed to the starter store because you don't get that quarterly coupon, and that does come in handy because you can get shipping supplies from their shipping supply page. Now the quality of the items have gone down in the last few months, but I do still use the eBay tape, and you'll see that here in a minute whenever I go over some must-haves when it comes to reselling on eBay. First things first, the two most important items that you're going to need when you're reselling on eBay are a scale. Ours weighs up to 110 pounds. And you're also going to need a measuring tape. You guys, whenever you're making your listings, you need to know the weight and the measurements. That is number one, probably most important thing whenever you're creating a listing. If you are under on your measurements or weight, you will be responsible for the excess cost when it comes to shipping, and you do not want shipping coming out of your pocket. We use any old regular measuring tape. This is a heart measuring tape. Nothing super special about it. We got our scale from Sam's Club about 4 years ago. And again, it weighs up to 110 pounds. So you want something that at least weighs to 100 pounds, depending on what items you're going to be picking up. Now, if you're only picking up smaller items, then you only need a scale that goes to like 50 pounds. It's whatever you plan on picking up. We keep everything we need in our living room because that's where we work from, you guys. But this is everything, pretty much the basics that you're going to need to start selling on eBay. First off, you're going to need a pair of good scissors. These are the ones that we originally started with. These are actually fabric scissors, I think. But we have to keep a couple pairs because there are 2 of us doing this. It is my husband and I. But I really like these scissors. They're Westcott titanium scissors. These are awesome, especially when cutting cardboard. You're going to also need some tape. Now, you don't have to have a tape gun, but I'm telling you, this is going to make your life so much easier. You can get a deal where you get the tape and the tape gun. I highly recommend doing so. This makes taping up boxes so much easier. So as you can see, we have regular tape, and here's our eBay tape. So this is the colored eBay tape. And we also have the white. We do prefer this one. This time around, it is a lot thinner than what it usually is. Not sure what's going on with eBay's shipping supply store. The quality of their items just isn't the same that it used to be, but we still like using it. As a couple other must-haves are Goo Gone. This is a must when it comes to reselling. You want to be able to get the sticky residue off. Whenever you are removing the thrift stickers or yard sale stickers, this comes in handy. It also comes in handy whenever you are cleaning the soles of shoes and just other items too. You're going to use this stuff a lot. It's definitely something to have on hand. Next up is some type of rubbing alcohol. We do have 70% and 91%. We like the less abrasive rubbing alcohol, so just kind of pick the one that you like. This helps remove permanent marker off some of the items because, as you'll notice, Goodwill does write on their items, or people will at yard sales with permanent marker. This will help bring it off. You're going to also want a couple good pens because you're going to want to write things down. I do have a leather cleaner. If you plan on picking up leather, you're going to want to have one on hand. I got this one from a yard sale for 50 cents. I've had it over a year now, and I love it. But there are plenty other ones out there you can choose from. Just have one on hand if you plan on picking up leather boots or any other type of leather. These are what I used to use whenever I propped them up in boots. I no longer use these. I suggest getting a couple pool noodles. This is the most cost-effective way, cutting a few pieces off whenever you need them. And these get slid inside the shoes or boots to help prop them up. So whenever you're photographing, they look really nice. You can't tell because you can cut them by length and you cut them the size that you need so they won't show whenever you're taking your photos. A couple other things. I would grab some rubber bands. We like having these on hand because you buy items that have a cord attached. You're going to want to be able to fold up the cord. So during storage, it just keeps it nice and tidy. We do usually leave the rubber bands on when we're shipping too. Another must-have is brown paper. So you want to have some packing paper. We get ours from Home Depot, but you can get yours from pretty much anywhere. In our area, Home Depot is just the most cost-effective, but Dollar Tree does have brown paper rolls for $1.25. Amazon has brown paper. Your local newspaper, you can get the ends to their paper rolls. We do not have one close to town. Our newspaper is 2 hours away, so we kind of have to go with what we can find. This is the most cost effective for us, but you want to have some brown paper. Now you can reuse packing materials that you get from Amazon or family members. Whenever you're first starting out, that's probably going to be your best bet. The more you sell though, you're going to realize that you run out of brown paper pretty quickly. Something else you're going to need are boxes. We use these USPS priority mailboxes for Poshmark, and they come in handy. They're free. You can get them from USPS.com. You can only use these on any other platform if you're shipping priority. You cannot use them for any other shipping service. Alrighty guys, I also keep a stockpile of these poly mailers. They are also free at USPS.com. I love keeping these on hand because every item that I sell on Poshmark when it comes to clothing will get shipped in this envelope. The only time that I don't use these envelopes when I'm shipping clothing on Poshmark is whenever the item is too large to fit into them. When we're shipping on eBay and Mercari, we have to use these boxes. We get these from Dollar Tree's cardboard dumpster, and you guys, they come in handy. They're the perfect sizes. There's such a variety of sizes. Just always make sure you take off any of the barcodes or stickers that are on the boxes so the couriers don't make mistakes on what barcode to scan. Let's go and get some of these free boxes. Always check your local dumpster diving laws, you guys. You never want to go to any place or dig in any dumpsters where it says private property or no trespassing. We try to grab as many as we can in one setting so we have enough for the week. If you don't like digging in dumpsters, you can also go inside and ask the employees if you can have the boxes that are just sitting on the floor that they haven't taken outside yet. I've done that many a times when I'm in the store shopping. I just ask and they say yes. Now we're off to Walmart because we need to go and restock some of our larger boxes. We do get the small, medium, and large ones from Walmart. It's just easier to purchase them from there because the Dollar Tree dumpster just doesn't have those sizes available. We do like using the eBay tape that we get using our quarterly coupon because we have a store subscription through eBay, but whenever we run out, we like this Easy Start duct tape. It works great and it does last a while. These are the boxes that we like to keep on hand. We like the 17 by 11 by 13s. They are $1. We also like to have some of the medium ones. They're 19 by 14 by 17. They're just a little bit over $1. And then we also like the large boxes, 24 by 16 by 19, and they're about $2.10, which isn't bad at all. Walmart is where we also like to get our bubble wrap. We paid $19.98 for 200 square feet. We do always reuse our other packaging, but this comes in handy. Another must is some type of photography area. So we used to use a whiteboard, and under it is a stiffer whiteboard, and we would just put an item right here and take a photo. So that's what we used to do. It worked fine for us. We have recessed lighting in our living room, which works out. The lighting is perfect. So you also want to think of lighting whenever you are photographing. I know a lot of resellers that use ring lights for their lighting, and it works perfectly for them. Eventually, we invested in a light box, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. It's probably one of our best investments when it came to our business, and I wish we would have done it sooner. Here's what our light box looks like. It is 24 by 24 inches. It does fold down, so you don't have to have it out, all hours of the day. We kind of leave ours up whenever we're working and then move it around or take it down whenever we need to put it up. It has these little lights up top, and then it comes with different colored backgrounds or backdrops. Again, I like using white. It is proven that eBay search and Google search do prefer items that have a white background. Those seem to pop up more whenever you are searching items, so we stick to the white. You can just tell whenever you put an item in here, it's awesome. It has the perfect amount of shadows. I usually do square mode so you don't see any of this on this excess area. Make sure you take your photos in square mode. That's going to crop all that out. Whenever buyers are searching your items on eBay and they're scrolling, the item isn't cut off. So if you weren't to do it in square mode, the item would be cut off. In square mode, the pictures look awesome. They're not cut off and they can see the entire item. So keep that in mind whenever you're photographing. The great thing about this light box is it is adjustable. So if you didn't want it this bright, you can change what it looks like or the lighting. So you can kind of change it to mess with it, but we like it on its brightest setting. But yeah, kind of change it out. And then again, the backgrounds, it comes with like 7 other different colors. I just like using white. This is easy to clean. It does wipe off really nicely because these do get dirty pretty quick whenever you're putting items up here. But yeah, you guys, definitely not a must, especially in the beginning. The whiteboard will work perfectly. Decide if you want it or not. It's definitely one of our best investments. I would have done it sooner if I knew it was this awesome. Definitely not a need whenever you first start out, but definitely something to invest in later on down the road on your reselling journey. Now these next few are must-haves if you sell clothing or plan to sell clothing. If you pick up hats, you're going to want some type of foam head. This is just going to make the photographs of the hat look so much more professional and a lot nicer opposed to not using one. We picked ours up from Hobby Lobby. Ours is the male version, and I think we paid just like a little bit over $1 for them. Next up, you're going to want a lint roller. This one is definitely a must on hand. Maybe even if you don't sell clothing, you probably want to have one of these on hand because non-clothing items do pick up lint and hair and other things like that. So definitely pick you up a lint roller. Whenever you're selling clothing, must have is a steamer. This one is just one that I found at a yard sale. It's a Bison, and I like it. It works just fine. A handheld steamer is so much easier than your average steamer just because you're moving around a lot, and this makes it super simple. This is my stain remover that I like using. It's Shout. This has gotten so many stains out. I love using this. Next up, you're going to want a couple hangers. You're going to want one that has these little clips so you can hang pants and skirts and things like that. You're also going to want just your regular hanger. Make sure you're picking out hangers that are semi-professional or luxurious looking, just so when you're taking your photos of clothing, they look nicer. You're going to want to have one of these fabric shavers on hand. So this just gets some of those little fuzzies off the clothing. There's so many different brands out there. This is one that I picked up at a yard sale, so just find one that you like. Other must-haves are poly bags. There's only 3 sizes that I use currently. They are 12 by 16. These are clear poly bags that most of my items fit into. I do also pick up coats and larger items, and I use these large poly bags. These are 18 by 24 inches, and again, they just have this little strip, and you just tear it off, and it seals the item inside the bag. And then once the items are in here, they are stored in these bags, and then once it sells, I put the item that's stored in that bag in one of these to ship it out in. This is a 24 by 24 poly bag, and I will cut these in half or thirds, just depending on how large the clothing item is. I don't use this entire bag for one piece of clothing unless the item is that large. I do cut it down into halves or thirds. It just depends on the size of the clothing. So these go a very long way. The bundle comes with 100 or 200 of them at a time, and they last me a good while. So if you're selling clothing, these are my must-haves. You're also going to need the measuring tape so you can measure your clothing. Some people do prefer the fabric measuring tape, but you know, I just use this. Again, whatever is going to work for you. This has worked for me, so I keep using it. Another must-have when it comes to reselling is some type of storage that you're going to store your items in, you guys. These are totes that we use. So this is tote 89, tote 88. Yeah, we actually started with letters and moved to numbers, and we have over 200 totes now. We picked these up at an auction a couple years ago, and then we do come across them at yard sales, and we'll buy them from there. The only thing is you can't stack these super high because then they start to crumble and break. A lot of resellers will use boxes or totes. You just kind of have to find something that works for you. Whenever it comes to reselling, you also have to think about shipping and what you're going to print those labels out with. You can use the QR codes for eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. Mercari does also have the QR code, but if you're shipping through FedEx on Mercari, you're not going to be able to use a QR code. I just experienced that whenever we had no power for 4 days. And yeah, you can't use a QR code whenever you're shipping out on FedEx on Mercari. So you either want to have a printer on hand, or you can invest in a Rollo printer or some type of thermal printer. We didn't invest in a thermal printer until maybe 6 months after we were selling on eBay, and it's a game changer. It saves you so much time. I definitely highly recommend a thermal printer. A thermal printer is not a must-have whenever you are starting your reseller journey. It's just something nice to have if you have the money to put towards that in the beginning. It's definitely something to invest in, but you definitely don't need it. It's just a time saver. We keep our Rollo thermal printer in our little area here. So the labels you can get free from UPSshipping-supplies.com. So keep that in mind. You can get those free. They do fit our Polono. This is what it looks like. It's a thermal label printer. They have them on Amazon. You can sometimes catch them on a deal, or you can just get a unbranded thermal printer. It's up to you. We got this one at a good deal, so that's why we bought the name brand. It's the same thing whenever you are buying just a regular printer, if you want to start with that first. We have a Brother printer, but find one that's cost effective. When it comes to reselling and starting out, just keep your cost of goods low until you start seeing some profits from selling your items. You're also going to need some type of computer or smartphone. We do most of our work from our phones, but we do like shipping using our computer, so you're definitely going to have one of those two things. You're most likely on your phone right now. You can download the eBay app. The eBay app works with either iPhone or Android. You can also do your shipping on the app, but we just prefer to do it on the computer. So keep in mind, you're going to have to also have one of those two things. Another important must-have is a way to track your expenses. I use QuickBooks. It's an app that I download on my phone, and I scan every single receipt. This is a time saver whenever tax time rolls around and we have to import our expenses. I just have the simple start version, and it's $35 a month. Some sellers use spreadsheets. I just find those more time-consuming, and I just love using this app. You can do what works best for you. Here's an example of what the app looks like. These are expenses for January of this year. After going to thrift stores or getting supplies from Walmart, I go ahead and take a picture of the receipts and then import them into QuickBooks, and it keeps track of where we bought the item, the date that we bought them, and how much we spent. It definitely comes in handy during tax time. Another app you need to download is the Stride app. It is free to use, but we use this app to track our mileage. So anytime you go to the thrift store, anytime you go to get supplies for your business, you want to make sure you're running this app. You want to make sure you're tracking your mileage. That's it. That's pretty much everything that you need for reselling, especially in the beginning. I did throw in a few things that are nice to have, but definitely not required. Type supplies in the comments, and I'll link a supply list of everything I went over. So you've signed up for your account. You're going to have the supplies you need after this video. And so in our next video, we're going to go over listing your very first item. Alrighty guys, welcome to Reselling 101 Part 3. Alrighty guys, so you've signed up for whatever account that you plan on reselling on. You've gathered all the supplies that you're going to need to ship out your first item. So now it's time to get listing. My husband and I are full-time resellers. My name is Natalie and I'm teaching you guys reselling from the very beginning. We do sell clothing and hard goods. In this episode, you guys, I'm going to show you guys how to list on eBay. With that does come shipping. I know a lot of people have questions over shipping, and I'm hopefully going to answer a few of those questions that you have in this video, so let's get into it. Alrighty guys, you're at the point where you're ready to list. You've got your items, whether you got them from a thrift store or got them from a yard sale or even the trash. We ended up finding this super cool Jeep in a trash can at a local thrift store here in town. You guys, they just had it setting up on top of the dumpster. Check it out. I'll show you a picture. But they literally had this Jeep sitting on top of the dumpster. We're going to list it on eBay and flip it online for a profit, and we got it for free. You can drive around town and find items for free. You can have family members give you items that they no longer want, and you can list them on eBay to flip them for a profit. The best items to start with as a beginner reseller are items in your own home. So you can look around the house and kind of pick out items that you no longer want or use and go ahead and list them. That can be shoes, clothing, your kids' old toys. It's really up to you. Decor pieces. The list is endless, honestly. You'd be surprised at what sells on eBay. So I did photograph some clothing today. I batch photograph, so that means I photograph for about 2 hours at a time, and then I sit down throughout the week and list those items. So I always have items to list whenever I have some downtime. I'll link my reselling clothing video so you guys go and watch that, so you can get an idea of how to start reselling clothing. All right, guys, now we're gonna start listing. We're gonna start with this Dungeons and Dragons hoodie. I picked this up from Goodwill for $7. I do use my phone to list. You can use your computer, but I do prefer my phone. I'm gonna show you guys on the screen, step by step, how I'm gonna list this item, and I usually start with eBay. Whenever I am looking up clothing, I like to use Google Lens. You're gonna click that camera icon, and basically you're gonna take a photo or use a photograph that you took earlier on in the day to look up this item. We are doing the Dungeons and Dragons hoodie, so I'm gonna start out with doing the front of the hoodie, but you guys, I'm gonna end up having to do the back side just because this front of the hoodie just doesn't bring up that much information. The back of this hoodie is so much more detailed. Google Lens is gonna pick it up with no problem just because it's just more graphic than the front. And here's a listing on eBay. This is one that I'm going to click, and I'm going to copy that title, and then I'm going to take that title and paste it into the eBay app. That's going to bring up all the active listings that are within that title or have keywords that are in that title. So you could tell it's not all of the same hoodie that I'm looking for, but I'm going to go up where it says filter, scroll down, and I'm going to click sold and completed. This is going to show me which ones have sold in the last 90 days on eBay. This is the important part whenever you're picking up items to flip online for a profit. Make sure you are checking what they are selling for, not what a seller has it listed for. We don't care what it's listed for. You want to know what it's selling for. This hoodie sold for $29.95 on January 1st, so I'm going to go up and click that listing because I'm going to use that as my own listing. Whenever I list items on eBay, I like to use the feature Sell Similar. So right here, you're going to click Sell One Like This. The great thing about the Sell One Like This feature is everything's already imported for you. You just have to use your own pictures and change any details that differ from this listing, which is usually the size and condition sometimes, just depending on if yours is in better or worse. Make sure you change the details. You want the buyer to know exactly what they're getting. First thing you're going to do is make sure you edit your photos. I go ahead and crop out all the excess of this curtain in my photos just so they look better. I have a new white background that's getting delivered this week, so I'm excited to use that whenever I photograph clothing. It's going to make this process seem so much easier. I'm not going to have to go through and crop out most of this curtain. Next up, you're just going to change any details in that title. I do usually leave the title unless I want to add a word or two, but I'm just going to change the size of this sweatshirt. Make sure the category is correct, condition is pre-owned, and now you're going to go into item specifics and change any details. So I'm going to change the size. Always double check this section. You just want to make sure it matches your item, and you can always fill in the extras that the other person or other seller didn't fill in. But we're going to go ahead to custom SKU. This is located at the very bottom of item specifics. This is where I put where my item is located, the date that I listed it, and how much I paid for it. This makes sure that you keep everything organized and that you don't lose the item in your inventory, because when an item sells, you want to make sure you know where it's located. This also helps you keep track of how long you've had the item in your inventory and how much you paid for it. Staying organized when it comes to reselling is a key to success. The next section is the description. I like using the AI description. It's going to take all the information that you put into item specifics into this paragraph. Make sure you proofread because it has made some mistakes. The description is also where I put all the measurements that I took whenever I photographed the items, so make sure you keep that in the description. I highly suggest adding measurements to your listings. This is going to help the buyer know if the item is going to fit or not, and they'll be more confident in buying your item. Pricing is where a lot of new sellers struggle, and here's a couple tools that you can use. So you can use this medium sold price, look through this and base your price off that. I usually price slightly higher than this price here because I want to make sure that I leave enough room whenever we promote and sell items or run a sale. I don't want to price on the lower end because I'm just going to cut myself out of some profits. All of our listings are buy it now with offers turned on. Alrighty guys, we're at the shipping portion of listing this hoodie right here. So I'm going to show you how I would import the measurements. When it comes to shipping on eBay, we do use eBay's calculated shipping. Whenever we create our listings, all we have to do is make sure we have the correct measurements and weight, and eBay will calculate the shipping based on the distance between us and the buyer. To make sure that you are not costing yourself in shipping costs, the two most important things, if you watch my video prior to this, is to make sure that you have a measuring tape and some type of scale. I have a Royal. I got mine from Sam's Club about 3 or 4 years ago. It still works. It works for us. You can get these on Amazon, Walmart, really. They're pretty much anywhere. Ours weighs up to 110 pounds, but you can get ones that weigh up to 50. It's really up to you and what you plan on picking up to resell. So once I am done photographing the clothing, I guesstimate just because I've done it for so long. So I know whenever I import the measurements for this item here, it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. Now this is just a basic measurement for a sweater or sweatshirt of this size. Every time I have a sweater or sweatshirt, it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. I'm going to show you what the measurements are. If you're a beginner reseller, you're going to want to do this whenever you are done photographing the item, and go ahead and write it down under the list of all your measurements so that when you go to do the shipping, you have that information to import so you're not guessing. But the longer you do it, you're going to get good at guesstimating what the measurements are, because you're going to overweigh and overmeasure by a couple inches and pounds, or a pound or inch, just depending on what the item is. So this Dungeons and Dragons is 12 inches by 10 by 3 or 4 inches. So we're going to go back into shipping, and I'm going to import measurements for this, and I'm going to put 15 by 12 by 6, even though it was 12 by 10 by 3 or 4. By over measuring and overweighing slightly, it's going to give me enough cushion if I were off by a measurement or two. It's not going to cost me anything because I have that cushion there when it comes to the measurements and the weight. When it comes to weight, I do usually add a pound or two, just depending on what type of clothing item it is. I would say this sweatshirt weighed 3 pounds. Let's see how much it weighs. So it actually weighs 1 pound, 2.7 ounces. So you would round up to 2 pounds. I said this item weighed 3 pounds whenever I created the listing. So whenever it sells, you're going to go into the shipping page on eBay, and you're going to adjust shipping measurements to 12 by 10 by 4. That's going to give you a little excess in shipping costs to help cover the poly bag that you're using and the other poly bag that I ship in. That is the main reason that we overmeasure and overweigh slightly, is to help cover the cost of shipping materials. You just don't want that coming out of your pocket. More often than not, we do make a little bit on shipping, but it's not a whole lot. You don't want to overdo it because that can cost you a sale. So if you are overmeasuring and overweighing too much, the shipping cost is going to be outrageous, and it's going to be harder for a buyer to purchase your item. It's slightly just overweighing and overmeasuring. Don't go crazy with it. When it comes to jeans, it's pretty common. I do 15 by 12 by 5, and that's going to cover your jeans for you. Same thing if I had shorts about this size, 15 by 12 by 5, and that's going to cover jeans, shorts, men's, women's. Those measurements are going to work for all those types of clothing items. And it's the same thing with sweatshirts. I do 15 by 12 by 6 just because they're a little wider, so you want to account for that. When I do have larger items, such as coats or vests, like this here, you can tell it's in one of my larger poly bags. This one, the measurements are usually 17 by 15 by either 6 or 8, just depending on the thickness of the item itself. So those are my common measurements for clothing items. Back into our listing, we're going to edit the shipping. So I'm going to put this item at 3 pounds and it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. Like I said, you guys, I do over measure and overweigh by a couple inches or a couple pounds. This part should be simple now because you already have your shipping policy set up like I showed you in Reselling 101 Part 1. Now you guys, we're going to go ahead and go to our promoting button. We do always promote our items between 5 to 7%. So you're going to toggle that on. eBay will give you a suggested percentage rate. We never go with what eBay suggests. I always start out at 5% and then slowly increase it the longer the item is listed. And then you just click list your item. That is how you list an item on eBay. All right, guys, next up, we're going to list this Tonka Jeep. We got this out of the dumpster for free, so I'm going to show you guys how we list it. First things first, you're going to want to take some pictures of it. All right, guys, as I told you before, we do go ahead and take our photos first, and then we list our items later on in the day. It's just called batch photographing. So then whenever I go in to list the item, I just Google Lens the image or the photo that I took earlier on in the day to list the item. Make sure you take your photos first. I'm going to show you how I photograph this item right now, you guys, and then we'll go ahead and import the measurements for it. First, you're going to go into your phone. Make sure you are in square mode. So click that down arrow, 4:3 square, and I'm going to show you exactly how we usually take our photographs. We do have a light box that we usually use for most items, but this large item like this isn't going to fit inside our light box, so we use just a whiteboard with a stronger kind of whiteboard under it, and we just back it up to our wall right here, and it works just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start shooting some of these pictures. So whenever you are photographing, you just want to make sure you get all angles of the item. So I kind of just move things around. And then make sure you get a front shot. And make sure you picture any and all flaws. Now my husband already took these photos earlier on in the day, so he's got better photos of this item. I'm just doing a little demonstration for you guys, but here's what his photos look like. Just make sure you picture any and all flaws. Just like that. Now that I have my photographs of the item, I'm going to go into Google Lens, which I'll show you right here. When I list hard goods, I just go into the eBay app and use their photo or search bar. You can go ahead and take an image of the item you're wanting to look up, or you can just use the picture. I prefer using the eBay app whenever I'm looking up hard goods opposed to Google Lens, just because it's more straight to the point. This is going to bring up your item, and then it's going to show you which ones are active on eBay, just like we did with the t-shirt or the sweatshirt, you guys. You're going to filter to sold completed, and this is going to show you what this item sold for in the last 90 days. And again, you do the exact same thing that we did for the t-shirt. You're going to pick one that is most similar to yours. Click on it, and you're going to click sell one like this. Then all you do is just put in your pictures, fill out the details. Remember, make sure you enter any and all flaws. Don't forget to fill out the details in the custom SKU. That's where it's located, the date that you listed it, and how much you paid for it. Don't forget to set your price slightly higher. Hey guys, now we're at the point to put in measurements for this item and the weight. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, with the larger items, I do typically measure them so I know what box we're going to use. We do get small, medium, and large boxes from Walmart. We do continue to get those boxes because we can choose between one of those 3 boxes this item is going to fit into. Now, our smaller hard goods, we do get our boxes from Dollar Tree's cardboard dumpster. And when you're first starting out, you want to make sure you're measuring and weighing your items, and then add an inch or 2 or a pound or 2 depending on the item. You just want to account for the shipping materials that you're going to use. If you were just going based off the item's measurements itself and the weight, it's going to end up costing you because you didn't account for the shipping materials that you plan on using. So keep that in mind. So this item is just a little bit over 17 inches by 17 by 10, which this guy does fold down. And then thickness or width wise, it is 10. So 17 by 10 by 10. All right, guys, when we ship this item out, this is the box that we're going to use. It is 19 by 14 by 17, and we will cut it down whenever we put the item in it. So we save ourselves some measurements. But this item is definitely going to fit inside this box. Back into our listing, we're going to import the weight and measurements. I put this at 8 pounds, and then the measurements I put 19 by 14 by 14 because it's most likely going to be 19 by 14 by 10 or 12 whenever we ship this out. If you are just starting out, you may not have the option to promote, so keep that in mind if you don't see the promote button, but we do always promote every single item. It doesn't matter what it is or how quickly the item is supposed to sell. When this item sells, eBay will take 5% of the total sale. eBay will also take the fees that comes along with listing items on eBay. Each category is different, so keep that in mind also when you are promoting. We are not only paying the promotional fee, but we are paying eBay's value fee. Now, if you're shipping something smaller, such as, this measuring tape or this doll, say we're shipping this doll, we'll just measure it. It is 12 by 4 by 2. So I would put 15 by 12 by 6. It weighs probably about 2 pounds, and I would list it at 3 pounds. Again, you're over measuring and overweighing slightly. All right, guys, I do have a bunch of shipping videos over how we ship items out, the boxes that we use, and all that good stuff. You can check out some of those on my page. That's pretty much it. You have your account set up. You had the supplies to get it all shipped out. You have your items, and now they're active and live. You're just waiting on a buyer to purchase them. When it comes to listing your items, you guys, there's important things to remember. Make sure you are taking good photographs. And if you are starting to go thrifting or yard sales, estate sales, online sourcing, make sure you are picking up items that are selling. Make sure whenever you go to find that item that you plan on picking up, it's sold in the last 90 days on eBay. That's going to help prevent you from getting stuck with a lot of inventory that's just not moving. Don't be tripping, it's just flipping.